Welcome, sir. Uh,
Thank you, Dr. Sajad Mangi. Thank you very much. Appreciate. Could you please give me the access to share my slides?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Now you may please.
Okay. Hope I'm visible to everyone and
Yes.
audible to everyone.
Yes, doctor. You are audible as well as your presentation is visible. You may please proceed.
Okay. Thank you very much for Mute Harpo giving me the chance to present, to give a talk. As we all know, we have limited time. So I just want to go through my presentation a little bit faster so that we have more time to interact. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask the questions at the end of the session. So the talk, as I'm moving forward, the title of my talk is Old Mindset and New Practices. I'm sure it is self-explanatory what I am going to talk about. I've been hearing the presentation since yesterday. Different speakers have been giving really thought-provoking ideas, wonderful research areas. They have been talking about different fields when it comes to technology, especially after COVID-19 and the situation we are into. So my talk is also related to this. It is basically while COVID and post-COVID scenario, and what are the opportunities, the challenges, and what has happened to the entire educational system after COVID. So let's start. If you have any questions, please do write it down in your chat box so that at the end, I'll be able to answer your questions. Moving forward, first of all, I want to talk about what has transformed during our COVID-19 situation, especially when it comes to the classroom teaching or the classroom infrastructure. Let's see, like I have pointed out a few things. It could be interesting to discuss those things, and then I'll have a critical eye over the entire educational process or the system happening in Pakistan. First picture, if you can see, because of the COVID-19, our bedrooms have become like teaching offices. Almost every teacher is teaching from home. So the first transformation was, as I have seen, was moving from a school building, moving from classroom to your home. So it's more like a working at home or working from home kind of situation. When you're working from home, obviously your bedrooms become your teaching offices. It doesn't mean bedroom means only one bedroom. I'm just talking about, it could be your living room, it could be your dining room, it could be your study room as well. So basically we have moved our teaching from a school to our bedrooms. Then if you see another thing that has changed from blackboard, it has become the laptops. Like laptops have really replaced the blackboards during COVID and even after COVID. Some of the universities are still online and some of them are doing hybrid learning kind of model. So our laptops have replaced basically blackboards. No more blackboards now. Everyone has a laptop, or it could be a smart device. It could be a digital phone. It could be your iPads or like tablets, whatever. But the concept I'm talking about is from blackboard, we have moved to laptops. So laptops are your screens of your classrooms. And then the third one, the division of students from the classroom chairs. Now we have got a small Zoom window, like very tiny Zoom window, where you can see your students and everyone is sitting there. Instead of having the live interaction, now we have the Zoom windows or any other softwares that you are using for video conferencing. So basically, there are three different aspects that I'm looking at due to COVID-19. So first thing, bedrooms became our offices. Your laptops became the blackboards or the boards or the whiteboards, and physical interaction has changed to online interaction. Now, if you see, this is all about the physical change. This is all about the practices that we have changed. I keep on repeating the same word, practices, because my focus is on new practices and obviously the old mindset we will talk about. So if you look at these three different transformations, three different changes, they are all about the practices that we have. In Bob Dylan's Forever Young poem, if you read it, it says, may you have a strong foundation when the winds of changes shift. I also believe the same. It's a kind of prayer, जिसको हम दुआ भी कह सकते हैं. Whatever, this is something like we are wishing for, we desire for. And if you sit back, relax, and reflect upon this quotation, you would realize, like, okay, we have the strong foundation. We have the change shift, but have we really changed? Or if we are talking about a strong foundation, what is the foundation? Is it the same foundation that was kept there, that was put there over 50 years' time? Is it the foundation that we have recently revisited, reestablished, redeveloped, or what? What kind of foundation do we have as teachers? I'm talking about. I'm sure there are many students listening to me, and many of you will be the future teachers as well. So you have to think about it. The foundations that we have as teachers, the foundations we have as students as well. Do we have the dare to change? Do we have to do we really want to change, or are we willing to accept the change? This is a big question for all of us. We need to think about it. And the conferences like these, where you have participants from all over the world, we need to think about it. This is really very important. I want you to look at the picture and think about it. What do you see? If we can name it one name, what do we call it? Do we have the computers? Yes, we have the access. Do we have enough computers in our countries, in our situations? I would say yes, or I could say no as well. So basically, this is what we call digital divide. What is digital divide? In true sense, digital divide is basically the gap between those who have the access to information technology and those who do not have. Basically, the concept of digital divide was given probably in the first decade of 20th century, 21st century, I mean, during like 2000, and I think it is 2005, when the definition was given about digital divide. What is digital divide? Digital divide is basically when we did not have computers with every student. When people used to talk about educational technology, when they used to talk about internet, when they used to talk about sharing information via the internet. But if you see the situation now, it is quite different. Now the devices are everywhere. Every student, almost every student has a digital divide, has a digital device, I mean, and they are connected to the internet. So the gap between those who have and those who do not have is almost none now. There are no at all. I don't see, actually, I don't see any gap in this sense when they don't have the accessibility to the devices. Now, almost every student, almost every teacher, whether the teacher is in a small village or in a big or mega city, everyone has got the communication device, and that is also like smart device, internet enabled device. So this digital divide is no more in our culture, in our situation, in our institutions, in my country, in, like, I can say globally. Hardly you will find this kind of digital divide. What digital divide do we have? Look at this next picture. What is the digital divide here? We have the devices. We are there, but we do not know how to use them properly. So the biggest issue is not about having the access to the devices. The biggest problem is how to use it. So it's not about the practice of it. It's more about accepting it. It's more about having the competency to use it. It's more about having the pedagogy to use these digital devices in teaching. So if you give a digital device to a caveman, obviously you can see the picture. If he cannot use it, obviously he's going to break it. So what is happening in our culture? What is happening in the current scenario? Mostly teachers, I am a teacher and I respect everyone. Most of the time, teacher cries over the distraction of these devices. Most of the time, teachers complain that they don't have enough time to use these devices in their classrooms. Most of the time, teachers consider curriculum or your educational activities different from technology activities. Most of the time, teachers use YouTube in order to kill time. When students get bored, teachers turn on the video just to kill the time. If we are using it, we are using only technology to the limited access or to the limited usage, like showing the PowerPoint. Is it enough? Do we really integrate technology? Do we have the idea what is integration of technology? So these things need to be considered. To me, I see digital divide as the difference in the acceptance, awareness, and literacy of the digital divide, of the digital society. See, if you do not accept the change, obviously you won't take action, you won't put your efforts in order to learn something new. So the first thing is the acceptance. Once you accept it, then we will look for the awareness of that digital utility of these devices. Once we go for the awareness, obviously we are going to literate ourselves. So these three things are really missing, and that is the digital divide between the students and the teachers. That is completely different. The world has changed. The world has transformed, especially COVID-19. To me, I would see it as a blessing in education, as before COVID-19, no one was willing to accept this change. No one was willing to adopt technology. No one was willing to utilize it in their classes. Because of COVID-19, obviously everyone was forced to do it, forced to accept the change, but they have only changed their practices. They haven't changed their awareness. They haven't changed their mental approach towards technology. Now the question is, why do we need it? Why are teachers not so successful in engaging digital learners? I have been attending so many conferences, giving presentations on different platforms and all. And most of the time I hear the word students are not engaged online. Students do not get interest. Most of the students are dull and all these things. That's why I have written the word, why are teachers not so successful? I'm not writing about why teachers fail in engaging, because I'm sure there are many good teachers. There are many literate teachers, digital literates, who can engage students well, especially the students of this century, the digital natives, the students who are born with these digital devices, who consider these digital devices as their right to use them. So what is the problem? And it's not only in Pakistan, it's all around the world. If you go through the research, you will find it. Most of the time, people are talking about they are not successful, online learning is not successful, hybrid learning or distance education, or many other terms they can use it to. Why they are not successful? What is the logic behind it? They have got the devices, they have got the trainings, they have got the resources, they have got the material to use in the classrooms and everything. But still, they complain about not being successful in engaging learners. So the biggest problem is our new practices versus old mindsets. I think there is a distraction. Someone's mic is on. Could you please put your mic on mute? Sabiul Hassan, I guess. Yeah. Okay. New practices versus old mindsets. We have got new practices. We know what we're doing. We know how to use these devices. We know what digital devices are being used in the classrooms. We know how to run the PowerPoint. We know how to conduct a lesson online. But the problem is with old mindsets. What is old mindset here? It has nothing to do with the age. It has all to do with the teaching philosophy. It is all about your teaching philosophy in this digital generation. Let's see a few things that I have put up together. When new technology is introduced into an old system, only to be used to perpetuate old practices. The problem comes here. The biggest problem is when you introduce new technology, but the system is old. You are still lecturing. You are still using PowerPoint as a blackboard. It's not about that one. The generation is different. They have different preferences. They have different social styles. They do not even sit together and chat to each other. They take their mobile devices. They use the mobile devices in order to have their conversation. If they want to have a friend, they don't go knock at the door or shake hand or something. They just send a friend request. So their learning styles, their interactions, their social life, their devices, their routines are different. In order to tackle those students, you need to change your habits as well. Because you are a teacher, they are students, you have to go into their world in order to teach them. You cannot drag them back to you. That is why they get distorted. That is why they get, you can say, distracted. That is why they seem bored in the classrooms, because we are following new technology, but with old system. People become uncomfortable when their old practices are disrupted. On the other hand, when it comes to teachers, obviously, as a teacher, I feel uncomfortable when someone questions my pedagogical skills, when someone asks me to change my style of teaching, because I always believe I was taught the best way. So I am giving the same way, but you cannot teach new digital generation of students in the way that you were taught 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or 100 years ago. So new system, new architect, a new situation always demands a new architect. You cannot design a new building with old mindset. Obviously, you need the modern thinking as well. The third thing is new technology used in the same way as old technology, then pedagogy is likely to fail. What does it mean in the same way? Like you are using, instead of using the blackboard, instead of using whiteboard, you are just displaying the PowerPoint slides, because these things, the technology facilitates you, not students. The end purpose of any session or any teacher is to teach a student to learn. But here, if you are using just PowerPoint, simple PowerPoint can only replace the whiteboard or blackboard. And that is why our pedagogy is not being so successful, or is not so successful. We should challenge the myth of the real world and the digital world. This is the one thing that we need to think about. There is no difference between real world and digital world. We must keep in mind this world is all about digital tools, and our students have these digital tools. They consider these digital devices as part and parcel of their lives. So you cannot segregate digital world from the real world. So we need to keep these things in mind. Education is simply the soul of a society. It is passes from one generation to another generation. Chaston talked about education, and obviously generation has changed. We have different generation. We have digital generation. They work differently, as I have already talked about it. So we need to keep this thing in mind. If you want to educate them, you have to think about what are their preferences. Things to rethink. We need to recognize the generation differences, very important. This is a different generation. They need to be dealt differently. Obviously, they have different demands. You have to fulfill those demands. You need to have the analysis of their demands, their lifestyles, their learning patterns, their learning methods. You have to change your pedagogy according to their learning styles. Schooling is its like, okay, in present form was designed to meet the needs of a society that no longer exists. We know that we have experienced this whole thing during COVID-19. Now this digital generation is not limited to school, not limited to four walls with one teacher teaching them. The digital generation needs a different learning style. They need different facilities. So we need to accommodate them as their demands. Teachers are now preparing students for a world of work that has yet to be invented. Every day something is new. We cannot now claim that we are teaching our students for today. No, you have to think about their future. You need to teach, you need to train the students for their future. You need to keep the skills that will be required in future in mind when you are entering the class. According to Arthur Clarke, the only way we can begin to think about a possible future is to take a leap of imagination outside and beyond. We cannot live in our own bubble. You need to take a step out of your comfort zone, and then only you can prove yourself as a better teacher. Most of the people talk about teachers, machines will replace teachers and all. I don't believe it. I believe the people who are not up to date will be replaced by the teachers who are up to date. That is the only thing. Teachers will remain there, only you need to keep on updating yourself in this digital world. Learning is a continuing challenge in this ever-changing world that requires acceptance, competency, and technology. This is my outcome of all, that we need to have the acceptance first, then you can go for competency, and then you can practice your pedagogy with technology. That's why I give the term technology. Conceptualize and actualize ideas using technology as the medium. Do not consider technology as a stand-alone tool. Obviously, you have to conceptualize and actualize ideas. First, you need to think, you need to pick what is necessary there. You need to ignore that is not necessary. You need to think about your curriculum and the integration of a suitable technology. You cannot just pick everything and then start teaching. You have to be very well prepared before integrating technology. And the last and the foremost, understand theory behind practice. Do not follow everything blindly. You need to understand what is technology integration, how to integrate technology, what is the purpose of a particular tool in your teaching. If you are using a particular content, you need to know if that kind of tool would help facilitate learning or not, or whether it is only to facilitate you as a teacher. It makes your life easier or it makes learning more successful. Thank you very much. If you have any comments and feedback, I have a Twitter handle. You can follow me and you can write your questions there as well. And I have a YouTube channel where I post technology, educational technology videos in Urdu so that all the teachers in Pakistan could get some advantage. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome. Thank you very much.